Hi, everybody.
Hey.
Hi. Can everybody hear me? Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Grief is like the ocean. It comes in waves, ebbing and flowing. Sometimes the water is calm and sometimes it's overwhelming. All we can do is learn to swim. Hi, everybody, and thank you for coming, for learning Zoom if you haven't had to already this past year, or for staying up in the middle of the night if you're in Australia or New Zealand. I'm Sabrina, Veronica's youngest daughter, if we haven't met. On behalf of my siblings, I want to thank you all for your kind words, your thoughts, your random check-ins these past weeks. We truly appreciate all the support that we've had. Veronica was born in Cork, Ireland on February 3rd, 1949, in her mother's house on Old Yule Road. Her parents were Patrick and Hannah Barry, and she was born to a bustling house full of siblings, half-siblings, and others who would become like siblings. Veronica passed away suddenly on April 15th, 2021. Growing up in Ireland in the 1950s, Veronica attended school at a convent with nuns as her teachers. She was raised primarily by her mother and her aunt, going for long walks in the country with Nan and the neighborhood kids, bringing home stray dogs and playing in the glen. She was a feisty child and always looking for adventure in some form. In her late teens, Veronica hitchhiked through Europe with her older sister, Rosemary. They spent time on ships and slept on beaches in France. At 17, while working as an au pair in England, that's where Veronica first met Roy, an Englishman who had grown up in Sussex. 2 years later, in August 1968, they got married in Surrey. They started their family in Hazelmere, where Veronica quickly made friends. Some of those friends became lifelong, still speaking regularly via email and FaceTime. Veronica and Roy moved their young family to Montreal in the mid-1970s. Again, Veronica quickly made friends who she would know for decades to come. She went to college and became fluent in French. After a few years, they moved again, this time to Calgary. Veronica found a career at Scotiabank that she excelled at. When they relocated to Sundre in the early 90s, Veronica became a realtor, and again, her personality was perfect for that. After 2 decades in Alberta, Veronica returned to her life of adventure and moved to Australia to be with her second husband. She loved Australia, the people, the tropical gardens, and living near the ocean. After 11 years, her second husband passed away, and she returned to Calgary, where she was delighted to take on her role as Nana. My mom always told me that her childhood dream was to become a mother. With 4 children, she absolutely achieved that. Being Nana to her 2 grandchildren brought her so much joy. She was there for every birthday, every recital, every practice. She marveled at their abilities and was always there to cheer them on. Veronica's passion was people. She had a genuine passion for getting to know everybody she met. Time and again, when she'd find an adventure, she would effortlessly find her tribe. She had no problem talking to a stranger on the train or a customer in line behind her. No matter who they were, she could get to know them. I remember every time we'd be at a gathering, I'd find my mom talking to someone new or talking to a group and having them cracking up at a story that she was telling. 6 weeks on, this still doesn't feel real, and I'm not sure that it ever will. My mom was my best friend. We laughed as hard as we argued. She kept me sane when my kids drove me to the brink of insanity. She was always there for me. Whether I needed someone to listen to me, whether I needed advice, or if I just needed company. Every day, even now, I pick up my phone to tell her something. And every day, the pang of shock that she isn't there takes my breath away. I wasn't done needing my mom. I've even picked up the phone to talk to her about how sad I am. And the irony is that the person I'm missing is the only one I'd want to talk to about missing them. That's not lost on me. I haven't figured out yet what to do with that. But I want to thank all of you, everyone who has helped during this difficult time. McGinnis and Holloway Funeral Home for their assistance and the tree being planted in her memory. Yvonne and Jasper and Chantel for being there at a moment's notice and working so hard and helping us with whatever we needed. And the friends of my mom's who have reached out to check on us. All of you have helped so much in the last 6 weeks, and we really appreciate it. In closing, grief is the last act of love we have to give those we loved. Where there is deep grief, there was great love.
I remember in 1983, we met in the Mount Royal branch of Scotiabank, Calgary, Alberta. You worked in customer service, and I worked as the manager's secretary. Upon talking, we soon discovered that you and I were born in the same year, 11 days apart. You on February the 3rd, and I on February 14th. From there, a wonderful friendship developed. We experienced many outings together, such as going for luncheons and dinners and shopping at the Mount Royal Plaza on our lunch break or after work. We also went for outings with the staff of Mount Royal Branch to the Mexican restaurant, which was 2 blocks from the branch where we shared a drink or dinner together. I was transferred to Aries Branch and you were still at Mount Royal, but we still stayed in touch. We met again at Main Branch in 1997. We also shared a few masses together at St. Mary's Cathedral. You made the move to get married to your second husband in Australia. We stayed in touch by telephone, speaking at least once a month for 1.5 hours, sharing events going on through our life. We exchanged Christmas gifts and Christmas cards, and we also still exchange birthday cards and gifts. My parents had friends in Australia who they lost contact with. You offered to help locate them. I provided you with their name, and you managed to find them, uniting my parents with their friends. They were forever grateful for your effort. Upon your husband's death in Australia, you moved back to Canada to join your family. You also spent a few weekends at our house in Rocky View County. You really enjoyed getting out of the city to country life on weekends. You joined Ian, my husband, and I on outings. One that stays in my mind is the trip to Banff, where we went on a hike. We had supper that evening at St. James Gate Pub, an Irish pub, where we enjoyed a steak and Guinness pie and a glass of Guinness beer. Veronica, losing you was like losing a sister. You have left an empty space in my life. Veronica, I will never forget you. May you rest in peace in God's loving arms. Thank you. Thank you for the 38 years of close friendship that you and I shared. I remember in 1983, we met in the Mount Royal branch of Scotiabank, Calgary, Alberta. You worked in customer service, and I worked as the manager's secretary. Upon talking, we soon discovered that you and I were born in the same year, 11 days apart. You on February the 3rd, and I on February 14th. From there, a wonderful friendship developed. We experienced many outings together, such as going for luncheons and dinners and shopping at the Mount Royal Plaza on our lunch break or after work. We also went for outings with the staff of Mount Royal Branch to the Mexican restaurant, which was 2 blocks from the branch where we shared a drink or dinner together. I was transferred to Aries Branch and you were still at Mount Royal, but we still stayed in touch. We met again at Main Branch in 1997. We also shared a few masses together at St. Mary's Cathedral. You made the move to get married to your second husband in Australia. We stayed in touch by telephone, speaking at least once a month for 1.5 hours, sharing events going on through our life. We exchanged Christmas gifts and Christmas cards, and we also still exchange birthday cards and gifts. My parents had friends in Australia who they lost contact with. You offered to help locate them. I provided you with their name, and you managed to find them, uniting my parents with their friends. They were forever grateful for your effort. Upon your husband's death in Australia, you moved back to Canada to join your family. You also spent a few weekends at our house in Rocky View County. You really enjoyed getting out of the city to country life on weekends. You joined Ian, my husband, and I on outings. One that stays in my mind is the trip to Banff, where we went on a hike. We had supper that evening at St. James Gate Pub, an Irish pub, where we enjoyed a steak and Guinness pie and a glass of Guinness beer. Veronica, losing you was like losing a sister. You have left an empty space in my life. Veronica, I will never forget you. May you rest in peace in God's loving arms. Thank you.
Feel no guilt in laughter, she'd know how much you care. Feel no sorrow in a smile that she isn't here to share. You cannot grieve forever, she wouldn't want you to. She'd hope that you'd carry on the way you always do. So talk about the good times and the way you showed you cared, the days you spent together, all the happiness you shared. Let the memories surround you, a word someone may say will suddenly recapture a time, an hour, a day that brings her back as clearly as though she were still there and fills you with the feeling that she's always near. If you keep those moments, you will never be apart, and she will live forever locked safely within your heart.
Hi, folks. Wonderful job. All the memories coming back, just looking at the photographs was just amazing. Just could feel her smiling. Very well done, Sabrina.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chantel. And when I was 15 years old, Veronica was crazy enough to take me in and accept another teenager into her house out of the goodness of her heart. In doing so, Veronica changed my life path, as she did for many, many people, like the homeless man who she would share her sandwich with every single day, working downtown Calgary. Sorry. Living with Veronica was always an adventure. She was hilarious and always made me laugh. She was a very caring, loving person who welcomed every single person with open arms. She was a great cook who enthusiastically taught me how to make curry beef rice, which is still one of our family's favorite meals. And every time I cook it, I remember Veronica. She was one of the kindest, funniest, and adventurous women I knew. She will be greatly missed by all, and we were lucky enough to have crossed her path.
Rory and Aoife here. We just wanted to, Veronica was my aunt, and we just wanted to say thank you very much for organising this in her memory. And it's obviously incredibly emotional seeing the photographs and looking at you all, everyone that loved her so much. We're not sure what we could do to contribute, but if you might remember that Veronica loves sea glass. So when myself and Aoife go for our walks with our kids, when we see bits of sea glass on the beaches and stuff, I kind of pick them up and keep them. And we'd hoped that when we'd eventually get to meet her in person, because we've never met in person, that we'd be able to give them to her, you know. I also wrote a little poem for Veronica about the sea glass. Would it be okay to read it, Chantal?
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Thank you so much.
No problem. I just hope this works. I'm just going to try it anyway. So the poem is titled Sea Glass. Who did hurl you that you came to rest, lost from your mortar, at the high tide mark, here where the sea licks Ireland as it takes its payment slowly, inch by sandy inch? Like the child on summer days, consuming ice cream cones with deliberation and care, the restless wild waves motion, absorbing car parks and boardwalks, stone by stone, shaped by decades to a pestle, as if by the gentlest hand of a sea foam sea sprite, dreamt up while draining another flowing cup, dram by dram. I wrote the poem because what we found was a tiny little, it was like a little pestle from a mortar as if dropped by a fairy. And I thought that Veronica, with her sense of wonder and adventure, that she'd appreciate the thoughts that these things can just be rolling around forever, like Veronica moving from country to country, yet they can still be found and be precious. And Veronica meant a lot to us, to both Aoife and I, lots of long chats via text message. And we're certainly going to miss her. And obviously we can see how much you all loved her, and that's so important to us. So our love to you all.
That was beautiful. Thank you very much.
Hello. I don't know if this is working. This is my first time ever on Zoom, so I'm just a friend, I guess, a friend of the family and a friend of Veronica's. Veronica was always so incredibly wonderful to me. She fed me many dinners, many breakfasts. I remember spending time out in Sundry, playing with the big dogs, and coming in and getting all warmed up and sitting by the fire and talking with Veronica and hanging out with Veronica. And it was always wonderful. Every last bit of it always was. Veronica's the only person I ever knew who would make great, big, giant sandwiches for her dogs. Not just kibble. Here's some kibble. No, here's a great big sandwich that you could charge $20 for in a nice restaurant. Things like that. Those are the things that I'll always remember. But she was always a part of me. And she always will be. It's just a wonderful thing. Thank you for everything. Thank you, Sabrina, for helping me get onto this. And thank you, everyone, for your love. I'm gonna miss Veronica terribly. But I know she's always out there. I know she's with us all now. And I'll always love her dearly. I have very, very many fond memories. I guess I'll keep most of them to myself, but it's just been a wonderful thing. She's just one of those happy, smiley people that I could always talk to. I was never just a friend of one of her kids or anything like that. She was my friend. And she was just truly amazing person. But I guess I'm gonna stop now. It says my video is stopped, but my microphone is unmuted, so I hope people are hearing this. Other than that, hugs all around, love all around. I'll send everybody a big hug. Take care of yourselves. Be well. Know that we are all better for having known Veronica.
That's awesome. Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you.
Hi, Aaron here, Veronica's nephew. My father was Kevin, her brother. I have, when I was clearing out my father's house recently, come across some photographs. I had intended to share them with Veronica. I literally only found them a couple of weeks before she passed, and as things always seem to go, just never got around to contacting her to share them. I was wondering if people are interested, maybe I'll share some of them with you now, if you'd like.
Absolutely.
Maybe we might start with some of the older ones, go in a chronological kind of, well, in some sense of chronological order, we go from black and white to colour anyway. I very poorly organised in general in life, and as such, I have only just put my hands on these photographs in the last few minutes. I'm just trying to see these. I think, well, certainly my father, and this is very awkward. I'm not sure if we're in frame there.
Yeah.
I think that's Veronica as the child there. I'm not 100% sure. As they go forward in time, I think it becomes more certain who we're looking at. Maybe some of the less of the baby ones now, but I think this would have been all of them. Would be my father and his sisters, Veronica and Margaret. So I don't know if you guys can see that well enough.
Yeah, it's in front of me.
I know
I've
it,
never
like,
seen them before.
you ever seen them before? Well, I'll try and get you copies of them.
Please, I'd
Um,
love that.
Absolutely.
I'll scan them
I'll get
in
them.
to the computer and we'll email them to you, because then that way that the picture will be better quality.
That's Orla, my
Sorry,
partner,
I'm
and
here.
Michael's mother. She actually met your mother through Facebook. She introduced herself as Michael's great grand aunt.
And
So that's how she got to know her. There's a couple more here now. Again, I'm really sorry about the awkward way of displaying these. I'm pretty sure this is her and her sister and brother. There's a little inscription on the back. I don't know, is that coming out reversed? Hope not. I think it was just basically saying I was just trying to clear my clothes off the line here, and I guess whomever it was got ambushed for a family photograph. These will get bigger as we go along as well. I don't know, my photography was so small back in the day, but so be it. I think
Awesome.
that's,
this is Sandy and his dog.
so I guess this is. Again, I'll get you copies of these. You'll probably be able to see them much clearer. This is the three of them when they were obviously a good bit older. I think it's plain to see who's who. Apologies again for the quality. Well, hopefully that light is going to help.
That's awesome.
What's it say on the back of that one? August 1957, I think it says. In the garden, August 1957. I think that's just my father, and I think that's her siblings again. My father and her sister, I think. I'm not too sure who's who again.
57 again.
That's again 1957. I think these ones are again when they're much younger. I'm not sure who's who.
Oh, these are awesome.
This one says down in the Glen. So the Corkonians amongst us will obviously know the Glen, very familiar. I'm sure it doesn't look anything like that these days. And this one, I suppose one of the last of the older ones, is it looks like a communion photograph. I'm pretty sure Veronica is the tallest one.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm near certain, but that was again, I'll get you copies of all them. I'll scan them and send them over to you.
Awesome, thank you.
I have a couple there as well. Well, from around the time of the trip back in the early 90s, I suppose my most enduring memory of Veronica. It was her and her mother, and I believe we all recognise the little girl. That's in the back garden of 269 Oleall Road. That's Veronica and Jordan, as you were known then, and Hannah, I believe. So again, copies. I'll get copies of all these. These were just a couple of the ones from the trip as well that featured Veronica. So I don't know if I'm sure you want as many as you can get. I've no idea. Well, I suppose I'm looking at the back of the photograph now. Is July 91, Roland and Veronica. Her age is written there as well. I don't know if she would appreciate that being disclosed at this point. I think in the name of good taste, we won't disclose her age.
21 plus that.
As they say. And no, this isn't quite Veronica, but this will be you and your grandmother. There, Sabrina and Sonia. That's when our grandmother, so used to not really interacting with cousins is in my 83 and a half years of age at that stage in her life. Again, that'll be the back garden in Old Yall Road where they grew up. And this one again in the back garden. I suppose some of these are very similar. Yes. Back in the day, before you could see what photograph you'd taken, you took many of them just to make sure
One of them
at
came
least
out
one
right.
of them came out. Yeah. This is. I'm not sure exactly where this is. It's not written on it. I'm sure it's somewhere around Cork on that trip.
I remember
There-
being there.
I think it's
I remember the tide
Kevin-
coming in and there were crabs that you guys were playing with.
I think
I
that's
think we-
y'all, Aaron.
I would imagine it is. We used to like crab fishing and racing them down the docks and tormenting teenagers with the buckets of crabs. And there's our father, Kevin, and my father, and our mother as well in that. So that's one else we have here. This is your mother, apparently not enjoying the company of this emu, I think.
Yeah, he chased her.
So this was ostrich attack, it says in the back. Veronica, Noreen, Kevin, Aaron, and Jordan. I think your mother might have written these. I don't recognize the handwriting. I'm guessing these arrived in the post in the bundle after you guys returned.
Yeah.
I believe this is in the gardens in Fota.
So
And
nice.
that's,
Yeah, it does look like it.
I believe that is, it's good. It does again, doesn't say on the back now, but I guess that was the trip in 91.
Yeah, it's all gardens.
So again, I'll get copies of these. Now, this I'm sure is probably back home. With a cat, obviously much beloved cat. This isn't the only photograph with the cat. Veronica and Rachel. Rachel, I'm assuming, is the cat.
Yeah.
So, and Rachel got her own photograph. This also was sent to us.
The best part of this is Rachel's a boy cat.
Poor Rachel, well ahead of the times. And this one is just a couple of us. There's Kevin, myself, and Sabrina in front of the Barry family motto, which I think is on the gates of Fota.
Oh.
Or we could have been down in Botavint, Boot Days on Avon, which there's a couple of alleged translations, basically long sayings of keep moving forward or always push forward. Or there's a couple of disputed translations of that. There's just a couple of the choice photographs I picked out. There are more, but I didn't want to monopolize the whole show here. So I just said I'd go in and say that, and obviously sorry for your loss, and you know, anniversary, which is Monday. You know, it's always very to the fore of your mind about how we have lost people going, you know, and that's just inevitable when you get to this time in life, and they'll always be in your heart and always be in your memory. So thanks for letting me share.
Awesome. Thank you so much.